Alright, I'd like to start my speech with a question for the audience. I'd like to know how you all got here tonight. I'm guessing maybe you walked, rode a bike, or maybe took the bus here. No, I bet everyone that came here tonight came here in some sort of a car, truck, or motorcycle powered by internal combustion, burning gas or diesel fuel. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a common thing. It's a tool that we use every single day to get things done, to go to work, to go to school, to take trips places, and take care of business and have fun. It's something everyone in the world uses, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in today's market, people are shifting. People are saying that these old, fuel-burning cars, traditional fuel cars, are bad for the environment, and that they're wasteful, and that if all the population started driving electric vehicles, that we could heal the ozone layer, and it would solve so many problems for our economy and things like that. And this isn't really a new view. The New York Times in 1911 had an article where they stated that the electric car is long realized as the ideal solution, and that it is cleaner and quieter than the traditional type of automobiles, steam or gas, in 1911. And the Gale Encyclopedia in 2014 said that in 1900, 4,200 vehicles were sold total, and 38% of those were electric, which is a pretty high percentage in my opinion. But by the 1920s, these electric and steam was almost completely phased out, and most of the vehicles on the road were gasoline powered. And so people are trying to say back here in 2017 that we need to park these cars and start driving electric vehicles. And this simply isn't true because of the high cost of getting into the electric car market, the low number of sales, the low amount of interest for people at this point, and the limited range that these cars offer. This really isn't a viable option. In an article from the Greenhouse Press titled "Hybrid and Electric Cars" in 2015, they stated that a Tesla Model S costs $70,000, which, you're telling me, Spencer, this is way too much money. Most people don't go around driving these $70,000 cars. I understand this. I got more facts for you guys. This car, a Chevy Volt, costs $38,000. A bit more reasonable, but still pricey. A step down from that would be the Nissan Leaf, $35,000, which, I believe is still a little bit pricey. When you could buy a Chevy Cruiser or Nissan Sentra for half the price, and you could go, 2 or 3 times the distance. You wouldn't have to charge it. You'd fill it up with gas. There's no worrying about plugging it in at night. It's much less of a hassle. You have to have maintenance every once in a while, but this is something you have to deal with. So, I myself, don't get me wrong, I don't hate electric cars. In fact, I go open road racing with my dad every year in Nebraska. And this is in a little town in Arnold, Nebraska, in the central part of the state. And people come from all over the nation to go to this race. So Tesla, being, the motivated sellers that they are, have a sales rep at the race. And he brings his Tesla Roadster every year, and he lets drivers and anyone there, go out and drive his car around this little town. And when he bought this the first time, I just turned 16 years old, and I was very excited. So when I saw him there, I went up and asked him. I said, "Hey, would it be all right if I drove your car?" And he said, "Yeah, sure, that's no problem." So we waited for the first people to get back, and then he handed me the keys, and he said, that number one, you won't break the car, you won't destroy the clutch, you won't over-rev it. 2, my insurance will cover any accidents you get into. And 3, that any tickets you get are yours to deal with. So I grabbed the keys, I hopped in. One of the other racers' family members hopped in with me. I believe it was one of the racers' brothers-in-law. His brother-in-law got in the car with me, and he wasn't a racer or a driver. He was just there to watch the race. So he hops in with his wide-eyed 16-year-old kid, and as soon as we got out of the side of the park, I was thrashing on this car, as hard as I could. I was really, going all out. And I loved it. It was a fast car. It looked good. It was preppy, and it was quiet. It was weird, but it was definitely a fun car to drive. Don't get me wrong. I genuinely like electric cars. So they aren't a bad thing. But just like in an article called "Transportation Policy" in 2012 stated, it's a niche market. Less than 10% of the market is for electric cars. These cars aren't something that you go out and drive every single day. This is it's a weekend cruiser, things like that. And there's nothing wrong with an electric vehicle for that purpose. Speaking of which, General Motors is coming out with this car, the Spark 4, and it's priced around $27,500, and it can go 82 miles on one charge, which isn't really a viable option. I mean, can you imagine being able to drive to Glenrock or Douglas and having to stay the night there and charge your car, not being able to drive back to Casper? That would be a huge problem in today's society. And in an article from the Greenhouse Press, in an article called "Electric Car Efficiency is Fiction" in the Sunday Telegraph in 2009, they stated that if Britain's carbon emissions could go up if there is a sudden demand for the electric car because of the high prices of manufacturing and disposing of these cars. They said that diesel-powered vehicles are responsible for half as much carbon emissions as electric cars when the use of fossil fuels is taken into account. So, in conclusion, electric cars have been around for a very long time, and the technology has came a long way since the 1830s when they invented it. But it is still very expensive. This market is not something that the average person can get into. And if you can get into it, they're an awesome car. They're a fun toy, and I'm sure that they're a lot of fun to drive on the weekends and drive it to the movies. But this isn't something you would use on your daily commute, and it's not a miracle solution for healing the ozone layer and everything. If everyone started driving electric cars, the emissions would go through the roof for manufacturing these, and it would be terrible for the environment. So, thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it, and please have a lovely day.